Yo, so the opinions and views expressed in this podcast are that of our own and the future Bachelor podcast only, and not affiliated with any outside party or entity or anything like that. This fun podcast, though, may include some adult language.
Future Bachelor podcast.
Let's get into what we like to do around here. You know what I'm saying? It's that time to talk about BIP on our show. That's Bachelor in Paradise. YouTube. Yo. I would just want to, first of all, before we get into all this, I need you guys to subscribe. Smash that thumbs up button and hit that notification bell so you can get notified every time we drop new Bachelor content, just like this.
Do it.
And if you just did, huge shout out to you.
Shout out.
Ooh-wee, air horns for you. Shout out to all our new subscribers. I see y'all getting in on the future Bachelor buzz. Huge shout out to our comment crew, the Nancy Drew crew, consistent family, Catherine Ann, Chelsea Allen, and Kathleen Kemp. You know, they are the homies. I hope you guys had a great Thanksgiving. We got this bonus episode of talking about the finale here for y'all. And if you guys want to get shouted out on an episode, all you got to do is leave a comment below and just let us know what you think. Maybe answer some questions that we ask at the end of this segment. And, let you guys know that we're also on Instagram at The Future Bachelor. That's a great place to keep up with us and follow us and get us on social media. And, on the off season, now that we're kind of coming to a point where Bachelor in Paradise or Bachelor or Bachelorette are not on, we still talk about Bachelor stuff here. So, subscribe if you're into Bachelor Nation news, because every week we'll hit you with what's been going on in the nation and keep you updated until we get to that next Bachelor. What's the guy's name again?
Zach.
How can I forget? I know how. But yeah.
I know how, because he's got mashed potato face.
I don't even know what that means, but that's...
he's just got one of those squishable, blank kind of faces. You know what I mean?
Mashed potato face. Okay. So, make sure you're sticking around, subscribing. We're still here giving you your Bachelor content in the off season, and we'd love to get to know you. So, definitely do that. It's been a fun ride this year with YouTube. We're going to continue to go hard at it in the coming months and the next year. So, what are we rounding about 5 years of doing this podcast?
Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
Technically, we celebrate, for those new to the show, we celebrate 2 anniversary dates, because we have when we originally started in the beginning of January with RE season. And then for reasons we couldn't really put out podcasts, but we were still recording every week for 3 months. And then we actually then restarted the show, if you will, in April of the year. So
yeah, it's those are so long, such a long time ago. I kind of want to, we should get lunch or dinner sometime and just, reminisce about the beginning again and talk about the future,
Bachelor.
But yeah, I mean, like you said, you guys see us here on YouTube. If you're listening right now on the pod, shout out to you guys sticking around and stuff too, because, we've really focused on this visual side of it. But if you guys want to hear us, we talk about way more than just Bachelor stuff on this show every week. We talk about pop culture news, we talk about our lives, we talk about new music, and a bunch of other random things that might be happening in our lives. So make sure you're following us, not just on YouTube, but subscribing to our podcast everywhere you listen to podcasts, and keep up to date with us. Join the family, because we love y'all. So that's a long intro, just getting to the end of the year, end of the show. We kind of just want to get all that out there. So V, Thanksgiving, we watched the first night and talked about it. Now it's post Thanksgiving, and we have a lot to talk about with this finale, the actual finale, the
reunion, if you will,
on today's episode. So where do we start? Where do we leave off? Where do we start with this season 8?
We're entering the second night of the finale, where it's going to be the reunion show. It's not live. It was recorded probably a couple weeks ago. So around that time. And they're going to intersplice, showing us and the audience. So the audience there got to see, 2 weeks ahead of time what happens at the end of the beach. So we're kind of splitting it in between doing the crowd work, working with our whole cast that we've got there, pretty much except Teddy. Teddy wasn't there.
There was a couple people that weren't there. Teddy definitely, I wasn't expecting to show up, but
me neither. I really think, Teddy didn't like really promote this show or anything. I think she really had some issues with production and everything like that. But she wasn't there. There's a couple other folks that were like James wasn't there. Stuff like other people who were barely on. Some of the split week girls that were barely on weren't there.
I just don't think they had time. Like, judging, just kind of, they were really going into this Victoria Gregg and Johnny
what
thing.
I know, they filmed for 13 hours.
Oh my goodness.
Of that reunion. So they cut out a bunch of, honestly, what I think could have probably been more entertaining stuff for us to see than, if you even look at the Bachelor in Paradise Instagram, they showed like a whole segment where they did like nectar or not nectar game with Wells and like the whole cast, because that's like one of like Aaron's, bro lingo things. And that obviously was not aired. That was part of the content that they made while they were there, and it was not aired, but they made a separate clip for that because obviously that does well on social.
Yeah.
But they did, I think they really wanted to try to focus on moving some narratives forward and some not. But in general, how they split this show up is they, went in, did some like recaps of some folks, and then as well as kind of finished out what happened on the beach. So they show a big recap of the whole season, which like my thing is, I get it. These finales, these reunions get some of the most viewers and things. So you're going to want to show that to like catch people maybe up to speed who haven't really been watching. But I would have loved that time to be used for other stuff, as well as like they did the preview at the end for Zach's season, which was more confusing than interesting to me because they showed Tajwan and Victoria Fuller on that. And it's like, why are they there? Like, what's happening? Are they hosting a date? But how do they get to host a date? Whatever. Who knows? But definitely, I'm like, I would have liked more of the juice of the reunion. But they sort of start, before we even get to the final two couples on the beach, they start with some of the brief catch-ups. They play into the whole Kira Romeo bit for a hot second, literally like a second. Ask Romeo, how are you doing? Reaction to like how his face was at the end of his time on the beach. And
Wells says that's like the funniest thing.
which I'm like, was it really? Like, it was funny, but also like, okay. I think what's been funnier is how him and Kira have really been like living in the bit and like being all like, we're not going to take this seriously. Like, it's just a TV show. Like, I think that's the best. Like, they've like been like, we're doing great. We're going to just reclaim this whole bit for ourselves here. So,
I mean, they've lasted a pretty long time since the show.
Right.
So, I mean, I don't know, maybe Romeo didn't say much, but, he probably learned a lot. He seemed like he hopefully learned a lot from seeing himself on this season. So, he made some messy moves, but I don't know. He's still likable to me. I don't know. I feel like he's like, he's just like too stupid for his own good or something, No offense.
I think he was kind of an idiot in some points, but I don't really think, he's malicious. I think he was just dumb.
I think he didn't really know how to play the game. Like, he was forcing it a little bit, you know what I'm saying?
Right.
Where other people are more, casual about like trying to date multiple people and stuff and better timed. But yeah, so they do that. What else they get into?
They get into a bunch about Split Week, their ripoff of Love Island's Casa Amor. And Logan and Sinead talk a little bit about how their situation ended. Seems like they both, don't see eye to eye on it, but they both were like, they just came to terms with like, they won't see eye to eye on it. It was funny because I watched this with my mom when I was back home, and she's all like, why is everybody so into Logan? He doesn't like look that cute. And I'm like, thank you. Oh my God. She's like, he's got beady eyes. I'm like, oh my God.
Well, I mean, as a guy, it's not even that he's good looking. It's just like, I don't know. Now I've seen him on two different shows. And they try their hardest to make him look like a villain or something.
I agree.
And
when he actually had the villain look at this reunion,
sure,
he needs to grow back the facial hair. That look was not working for him. I'm like, Logan, don't look like the villain. Like, you actually like came out the good guy.
Yeah,
like,
I mean, that's what I'm trying to say. Like, I always have like a little a piece of me that goes for people that they try to make the villain and aren't. Like, you know, I kind of felt like that about Shanae, but you know, Shanae is just a strong personality. Like, you know, she
definitely is.
Yeah. And, but yeah, so that goes down. What else happens?
So then this brings up the whole, then, you know, who he was last with was Kate. And Kate, like, half apologizes for saying all the classist bullshit that she said about Logan and to Logan and whatever. And, you know, she was like, I was out of pocket, whatever. And like, and she's like, I was just saying it to the girls, like, blah, blah, blah. And he's all like, you're mic'd up. Like, you know that there's cameras and things everywhere. What do you mean? Like, how did you not think this would come? And she's like, well, I wasn't saying it like I was saying whatever, but it's just like, it still comes from a really shallow place of being all like, I want the man to provide for me, blah, 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 blah. And I'm like, you're like, don't act like you're better than that when you obviously aren't.
Yeah,
like,
I mean, Logan hit like the crowd and like everybody by being like, I came out here, you know, trying to do this. I've done anything. Like, you know, the thing is, it's like, not only is it shallow, but it's unrelatable, like what Kate is doing.
It is.
You know, for the majority of America who's like, you know, trying to just get by sometimes and stuff.
Grinding, yeah.
You know, it's just like, who are you, dude? Like, you're going to get hated on. And that's why, like, there's probably no love for Kate.
And if that's because I was listening to Nick Viall's podcast from last week, like his recap and stuff like that. And they brought up a good point of like, is this her trying to like get her spot on Selling Sunset? But I'm like, that can't be it because of like just different contracts and things with Bachelor. Like because she works for Oppenheimer Group that does Selling Sunset on Netflix. Like that's, you know, the real estate agency that is the focus of that show. I'm like, is she trying to be like the next like mean girl in the real estate office, or like is she just trying to get some bite? Because she like, I don't really see much of a personality out of her otherwise. So I'm like,
I think she's good TV. I think she's good TV. I mean, I wouldn't say she's good, like a great person. I don't know that, but like, I think she was entertaining on TV. Like, you like to see people like just shamelessly be mean, you know. I don't know, that's just me personally. And you've seen people like Balake go on to do other shows and stuff, so eventually that contract will end, and I'm sure somebody, if she's in that world, you know, this was a good, I think, you know, kind of like her audition tape, if you will. You know, I totally see it. And honestly, she needed to get some more FaceTime when she was going to be out here, because like, you didn't really see her too much on the other show she was on. So, The Bachelor. So, yeah, I mean, I think, you know, after being probably beaten up on social media and online and stuff, she probably was just like, you could tell that she was kind of coming with her tail between her legs. And Logan, again, you know, it seems reasonable. You know, he's just, he is who he is. Right. And I wish I looked more into these people. Like, it looks like a lot of people like try to do music that go on the show. Like, I don't know if Logan. Yeah, because I saw his TikTok and stuff or Instagram or whatever, where he's all like, I actually do music too. And it was like, I think it was a TikTok, because then it had like the audio was his song. Johnny does music and stuff. Like, I saw someone saying that he had like a music video and everything. So it's just interesting. Like, a lot of people do music and then try to go on the show. That's why I think, like, you know, they really thought they had something with that whole song of the Bachelor music one that they had. And I think because they're all like, the people are there that want this kind of platform, but it just didn't. I don't think it really hit with audiences. Yeah, I love that show, actually. I thought it was pretty good, but you know, some of those people were really talented. Yeah, no, that's the thing, and I think, you know, they definitely have a ripe pool for picking for that kind of show. I don't know if it maybe went. I'm surprised as well as somebody hasn't become like really famous yet from The Bachelor, you know, like to go on to be an actor or a musician or something like that. Not that I can think of off the top of my head, but like I'm just surprised that hasn't happened yet. I mean, they're famous in the sense of like the show fame, like Bachelor Nation and stuff, but not like, you know, something else. One former Bachelorette, I think, does like some sort of like has some sort of company and stuff, but that's like once again not the same kind of fame. Right. So so we get we're finishing up with Logan. We get Jacob and Jill and Jacob. So like, because they're talking all about Jill looked good.
Huh?
Jill looked good on the reunion.
Jill looked great. You know, the split week, she talks about how split week affected her the most. Jacob, you know, kind of goes back on how he's like, you know, I definitely didn't handle things the right way. And like, I definitely fumbled the bag and then whatever. And he like runs over to where Jill's sitting and asks if she's willing to, you know, make their relationship work and give it another go. And she says yes. And they kiss. And then he picks her up and runs out of the soundstage with her.
Yeah, I mean, they make a good couple. But to me and Jake, that was like a smooth move. Like, you know, just being like, he was talking to Jesse and then just gets up and starts talking to Jill, like, you know. But to me, I always wonder, like, these people are so, like, the show's so incestual. Sorry, I don't know why I'm like messing up that word, but why do they not go outside? You really can't find like somebody great like that's not in Bachelor Nation? Like,
I mean, many of them do, but like I think when you're that fresh off the show, and if you did really have feelings for these people, then yeah, I can see how it's easier when those are your connections you have. I can see how.
Sure, I'm just saying like Jacob like made so many connections on that beach. Like, are you not doing that same thing in real life? Like, is it just the beach to where you're hopping around and not dating other people? Like,
I mean, I'm sure they both had been, or they maybe were trying or whatever. Who's to say? I don't know.
I just wonder. What else?
So then we get into very minimally, honestly. I feel like they probably cut a bunch of this, but we get into the whole Eliza, Justin, Rodney journey.
What I realized is that I really don't remember if I got any like final thing about Justin and Eliza when she went to go visit.
No, we didn't, which I am mad about. I feel like that definitely was maybe something that was cut or whatever, something that they really glossed over. Because like I wanted more, because I think it's probably something that was cut. Because I wanted more to figure out like, you know, what really happened there. Like I wanted to hear from Justin. I wanted to hear from Eliza on like where that was, because I guess like I even think like Justin and Eliza were maybe talking recently like in LA and like he was trying to hang out with her and like that wasn't happening or was like miscommunication, something. That's what I've read or heard. But you know, the Eliza Rodney, they really like bring that up again and get them both emotional. And you know, it's still like, and like even I felt like Jesse Palmer tried to paint as if Rodney was all like, well, you encouraged her to go on the date. And he was like, well, what I said was that, like, you know, I wouldn't want her to feel like she couldn't do something. Like, I wouldn't want to be hypocritical because I had just been with Lace and this, that, and like, which I'm siding with Rodney in this situation. Like, I think Eliza was going to be upset either way he painted that situation. Like, I just really don't think she would have been happy either way. I think she would have been, if he was all like, don't go on this date, she'd be all like, well, we're on this beach. Like, I don't really, even though she's like, but what I wanted to hear you say was don't go on the date. Like, I don't think she would have been happy either way.
Yeah. And that I guess, but also like, I don't know, as a guy watching the show, it was pretty annoying to watch him and Logan, you know, just be like, they're like so confident that they're like, go on a date. And I guess in real life, like you would be like, do what you're going to do. That's what I would say. I'm like, do what you're going to do, because like, you know, if you end up coming back to me, then we'll talk then. But like, you know, I probably wouldn't be so like cool about it. Like, yeah, I want you to go.
I feel like Rodney started to sweat later on into the date, but yeah. But anyways, they bring up asking, like, Eliza's tearful, all of this, and they bring up like, Eliza, do you still have feelings for Rodney? And of course she says yes, and they turn it over to Rodney, and I have to give it up for Rodney because he pretty much, you know, sums it up as, you know, I really wish you the best, but like I've done my healing and my work, and like I have to move on. Like I can't.
He's still trying to campaign to be the Bachelor. That's what I saw.
I mean, I could probably see that too, but yeah.
But yeah, I mean, more power to him. Like, I mean, that's what, if more people were like that, you know, I mean, everyone deserves, I guess, a second chance, but like they say, but you know, no, like, you know what I'm saying? Like, you had your chance. Like sometimes it be like that, you know, and you have to, like, if they're going to do that to you, like, you know, you can't ever undo that. You know what I'm saying? So,
I do feel for Eliza because I feel like she was upset in general. I think she felt cornered into.
Yeah, I mean, producers made her into this, like, you know, like they shook her up, like, and like a human being that's not used to this situation and stuff. They're going to not know what decision to make. They're feeling pressured by everyone that loves Rodney. Her feelings are over here. She just made mistakes, like, you know, and it just, you gotta kind of, what is you made your bed, now sleep in it.
Yeah.
So that's it. You made your bed, so it's time to sleep in it.
Oh my God.
Yeah. But anyways, yeah, so that was pretty interesting. I was like, good for you, Rodney. More drama. You know, we get Genevieve and Aaron.
They relive all of their fights and trials and tribulations, and they bring Genevieve up first, and, you know, she kind of goes through her view on some of the stuff, and then they bring up Aaron, and I thought this was a very mature apology on both ends from them. They both took accountability. They both, realized where they were reactive and being a dick and doing whatever. Like, they both realized they fucked up, and they both hug it out, and it seemed to go well. I think I was probably a better apology than I've seen on this show. In general.
But that was all good and all, but you know, us as, like, you know, in Bachelor Nation know that we've been hearing rumors of Aaron, like, having a girlfriend or two.
Yeah,
like,
so
before the show.
Guess that wasn't brought up on the show because Genevieve didn't find any of that out until after the filming of this reunion. Because I don't think she would have been so teary and happy with, like, his apology if that had been the case.
Right.
So that all came out, I guess, after they filmed this reunion. And she, you know, obviously she's been posting a lot of shit, kind of like trying to call him out on all of that. And I think most of his responses have been like, whatever. So I think there's some girls that, you know, he potentially, even before going on Paradise, was kind of two timing, and then potentially one of them overlapped with when he was on Paradise.
That makes more sense to me. That's what I was saying about Jacob. It's like, that makes more sense to me. You're dating a bunch of people outside of the show, and you're going back into the show and stuff. So whatever about them. This one I found troubling. The Brittany and Tyler.
Yeah.
So explain this, and we'll talk about it a little bit.
You know, we see them leave the beach saying that they love each other, saying that they want to see how this could go after the beach. They're going to go back home together, whatever. And, like, they did. They went home, met each other's families, did the whole bit. We're dating. And then it seems like we got, like, really nothing concrete out of them. But it seems like, you know, maybe for Brittany it wasn't really working. Maybe she felt smothered by Tyler. I don't know. I think, you know, seemed like they tried to take a break because I think maybe she wasn't vibing with what he was giving out. And then while they tried to take that break from her perspective, he was still DMing, Snapchatting, text messaging, whatever her. And she's like, this is, like, too much. Which she seems like a kind of gal that, like, she doesn't do clingy at all. And then I guess, you know, he brought up how the only time he ever heard from her was a month later when her mom sent him something, and then he reached out to her and he's like, and if you loved someone, you check in on them. I'm like, not really, not after a breakup. That's kind of not how that works. But
yeah, you know, though, I did not like the way Brittany came off. Like, I
don't like it either, but I also feel
heartless. Which kind of gave merit a little bit to, like, the stuff like Pizza Pete was saying about her and stuff. Like, maybe
I'm never going to give merit to anything that Pizza Pete says because he's a misogynist, but
that's fine. But I mean, I'm just saying, like, as a viewer, you know, they didn't really show what she said too much on the date. They kind of just framed it like he was talking the whole time, but he said some interesting things about her being, like, more into, you know, different things like, you know, social media and all this different stuff. And I could see from the vibe she was putting out there, it was like she got hot a little bit from being on this show, and she wanted to live life a little bit more outside of just like, you know, pairing up with who she met on the show. And so it just really didn't seem like a good look for Brittany. You know, it was almost like a Victoria situation, but
I know. I think they're really trying to paint these dudes in better lights as well, like give them the whole like sad boy looks.
I mean, he was sad. He was like crying, you know what I'm saying? Like, and also not only that, but she broke up with him on the same day, his episode of him getting broken up with by Rachel. So, I mean, Tyler's just a sweet guy. Like, you know, I don't know what to say about that. Well, he is in that moment, because we got to see a little bit more of Tyler throughout this episode. That kind of was like, well, that's a little different Tyler than, you know, I'm used to. But yeah, anyways, they kind of like skate through that. Brittany didn't really get a good look on that. So which is really interesting, because I think like during the season, her and Victoria were the two women that we were talking about being like, damn, those they seem like pretty down to earth, you know, but some of these people just really know how to be on TV.
Right.
You know, they really know how to do it. They know how to be, you know, they're master manipulators.
Right.
So moving on from that, what do we get into?
We do Danielle and Michael, who are the other, you know, another couple that went home together. They are, you know, doing great, doing amazing even. She's met his son, and she's moving to Akron, Ohio. Not moving in, but moving there so that they, you know, continue to grow the relationship. And they seem, you know, so great, so whatever. They barely get to, Sierra is dressed ready to lay it out. She's like got this hot little latex dress on. Her hair's looking good. She's looking fine as fuck. And they like, you know, pan over to her, do a quick little bit. Like, you know, Michael gave her very minimal lip service about, you know, how he wished things went a different way. But from what we know, from what I've heard and read, is that he, you know, he asked for Danielle to come. Danielle was pulled out of Bachelor retirement to come on the show for Michael. And so he obviously bid his time with Sierra.
That's the way it goes. That's the way it goes. That's the name of the show.
I know, but then I think you got to take responsibility for the feelings that you're impacting when obviously Sierra was feeling some kind of way.
Maybe, but this is just business and Bachelor Nation. Like, you know.
I know, but that wasn't how it was for Sierra, though.
But the thing is, it's like Sierra.
And my thing is, like, why pull somebody out of, obviously he wanted to get paid. Danielle didn't need to get paid. She was doing fine until they pulled her out. Like, they could have, if they've already been talking otherwise, the only reason why they're on the beach is to get paid to then, you know.
Well, there's this whole like Bachelor Nation royalty thing now, being a success story, just like your value goes up. And there's no winning for Sierra. Like, there's no winning. Like, the only thing she could do is just like, unfortunately, not say much, because it's like, look what you're going against. You're going a couple that obviously should be together, and they got like one of the saddest stories together, you know, individually, that the show's seen. You know, it's just you're fighting an uphill battle at that point. You know, it doesn't matter. Like, these people obviously should be together. You're gonna be old news. It's just like, and it sucks. And unfortunately, that's just the position she finds herself in. Maybe she was used, but
yeah. Well, and I guess, you know, she's battling stuff right now where Caitlyn and Danielle, like Danielle's kind of been doing a little bit of her, like, going to the different podcasts and stuff, and really now promoting the, as you said, the whole like part of like Bachelor royalty bit. But and like they kind of have been low key shit talking Sierra, and like Sierra hasn't been having it. Like, she was on, I guess they had been on Caitlyn Bristow's podcast, and like Caitlyn was all like, "Oh, who was that other girl?"
Caitlyn was
like,
the one I felt like talking the most smack, though.
Yeah.
Like, you know, who is she like to do, you know, talk about any of this? Like, you know, and another annoying part is the tiers of Bachelor Nation. Like, you know, if you're like the popular kids, like all the popular kids stand up for the other popular kids. Like you'll see this happening with Nick and Victoria and stuff like that. It's just, it is what it is. So, you know, that's just, there's, especially when you're that high up, like a Caitlyn or grocery store Joe and all these people, like they just like, I don't know, they kind of have to, they don't want to bite the hand that feeds them. So they all like kind of suck each other's asses. So, yeah, anyways, so that was whatever. Michael says he loves Danielle for the first time on stage.
For the first time.
Which, I don't know, that seemed weird to me.
It seemed weird, especially like as that was like the first thing after like them bringing in like Sierra, like, you know, being all like, you know, whatever, as long as you're happy kind of bullshit.
Yeah.
And like then he's all like, I've only said I love you to one person, but I love you, Danielle. And then she's like, oh my God.
Yeah, that's a weird way to say it too. Like, you know.
Yeah.
I don't know.
But I mean, good for them. I'm happy they're happy.
Yeah. So what else we getting into here?
Then we get back to like actually showing the end of the time at the beach. So we get to see the proposals of each. We only get to see Johnny talk to Neil Lane because they really bring up how he's like, I feel like this is kind of what I have to do. And like Neil Lane's like, you don't have to do anything. He's like, well, I want to based on like where our relationship is at. And like, you know, and I want to be with her, blah, blah, blah.
I kind of feel for Johnny in this situation because like, you know, who is ever ready, like in real life? And then you're on this like thing. It's like, you know, you're just being honest, like, you know, and open. And I mean, people expect you to say all these romantic things about like, you know, why you're getting married. And it's just like, he just really likes Victoria. She's hot as shit. And like, you know, he wants to keep her forever. So that's the reasons, you know, and we're getting this ring and we're on TV, like, you know, so, I didn't really get, like lean into too much of his hesitation, but, yeah, so they go into the show, he's getting his ring. What else we seen?
I mean, and then he proposes and she says yes. And they seem happy and gushy and cute, even though he still seems like trepidatious almost. Like he seems iffy about it.
I mean, I just think Johnny's thing is just being like always cool, like, you know, to a fault sometimes. But,
But
to me, I'm like, you got like the hottest girl that just agreed to marry you, like, you know, but I don't know if that's enough, like, you know, post seeing all this stuff. So yeah, I mean, we also see
Brandon and Serene.
Yeah, they get engaged.
And then Jesse comes down with his little book and he says, I did something crazy. I got ordained last night on the line. And what would you guys say about getting married? And then they cut to the break. And then, you know, we're all like, oh my God. And they bring them out and they're all like, oh my God. Like, you know, they come out as a couple. Well, actually, did they come out first or did Johnny come out and did they do that? They did
that whole bit and then they end the show because they can't end it with that. They got to end it with actual love, like this work.
Okay. So I guess let's get into the Johnny. So they bring out Johnny first. And he's alone. Obviously, Victoria's not with him.
And to be honest, I stopped watching after Victoria, Johnny, Greg thing because it just was like, you can't beat that. You know, after everything after that seemed very boring. Like, you know, we're back in the show.
So they bring on Johnny and he talks about how, like, you know, they ended things and how he's really hurt and like how he's like really upset. You could tell he like really doesn't want to be there. You could tell he like really doesn't want to be doing this. And
well, yeah, of course he doesn't because like there's just like everything that he hates is like just behind a wall about to come out. And, you know, I thought Johnny did well.
I thought Johnny did as best as he could.
Yeah. So they bring out Johnny. They talk about it for a little bit. He tells his side. Then they bring out Victoria and she condescendingly like puts her hand on him like, are you okay? All right, good. And
then like keeps it rolling.
Yeah.
And then
I mean, she's prepared for trying to put out her narrative.
Well, of course, because she's coming in where the whole audience and everything is primed to being all like, poor Johnny, Victoria broke his heart and definitely like stepped out on him and whatever. And, so then she comes in ready to rock and roll with her narrative and being all like, how long is somebody supposed to wait before like getting with somebody? Like, we had our problems. We did this or that, like blah, 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 where the timeline gets real fuzzy because she like says that, things ended with them 3 weeks after they came back in the summer. And then he's saying that they were still working things out, maybe a few weeks before she went to Rome, or maybe around that same time with Greg as, their first date. So she fires back with this whole, like, things were really toxic. Things just weren't working when we got back to the real world. And he, made comments about how, like, what good of a woman am I if I don't cook and or clean? And then he called me, an effing cunt. And
what do you think about all this? Do you think this is all stuff that she's using to make herself look like more poor me?
I mean, my thing is, Johnny doesn't deny calling her that in the moment that we see. And he does say, the whole sexist joke thing. He said that was a joking moment. Don't make this into something that it's not. Like, we were joking about,
people joke like that all the time.
Yeah, roles in a relationship, whatever. But he never denies the C word drop, which then obviously this is like, so she's definitely coming in being all like, bam, bam. This is like, why would I want to stay with you?
But they didn't even talk about, or they didn't show them talking about domestic violence of her throwing the wine
glass at him. Yeah. That potentially is what made him say that to her. Mm-hmm. So, and like her saying potentially, we don't know, this is alleged, that she was like, I'm out of your league, blah, blah, blah. And that's like what probably preempted this fight. So I feel like
I don't know. I kind of believe Johnny, like, and maybe it's not right to call somebody that stuff, but it's definitely not right to throw like a wine bottle or wine glass at someone.
Yeah, I think they're both definitely in the wrong if both things are happening.
Words are a lot different than physical violence.
Right. But
so that's what I'm trying to say here is that like she's really trying to use this like words thing, like, because the word is it. Sometimes a word can seem like, especially a word like that, can seem a lot worse than some other things, but they're really not. Like, words are not ever worse than like, physically assaulting somebody, I mean, it depends on a situation, but this word in specific, like, I mean, I wouldn't say it's good to use, but I mean, words are words and physical violence is a whole nother thing. So,
yeah. And, she's trying to deny that there was any cheating that was involved. And he's putting forth that there was at least emotional cheating. He's like, maybe you didn't do anything, but you definitely were talking to Greg and whatever when we were still trying to figure things out.
Yeah. To go back to it, I think they both cancel each other out, like just for the sake of the interest of everyone is interested in this, like, triangle. So if we take out the words and the physical violence, now we're at, is it okay for someone to step out? Like, how do you feel about this?
I mean, I think emotional cheating is cheating.
Yeah. Do you think she had a backup ready to go, like, meeting Greg before?
I mean, when Greg comes on, the way he phrased it as rekindle seems like they had already had something going on prior. And it seems like it seems pretty convenient that he was ready to rock and roll, take her on a first date to Rome when...
I don't know. When he came out, it did not look good for either of them. I felt like...
No, and he looked like he definitely wasn't really sure what he was going to be in for. He looked very like, oh, we're doing this, when they showed their like matching Chow tattoos.
He just looked like an asshole. Like, I honestly look back at Katie's season. He looked like an asshole before he left, Mm-hmm. In all honesty, like, probably Victoria and him deserve each other, and I doubt they're going to last long. But yeah, I mean, the fact that they got tattoos, it's like, ew, dude, like, that's not helping your case here. Like, you guys got tattoos. You look like crazy people.
Right.
You know, they were just laughing the whole time about it. Like, you know, we don't care. We don't give a shit if like you guys hate us or not, which I guess cool. But I mean, I don't know. Like, I really feel like Victoria's feeling it like weeks after now that the finale's come out. Like, people are still like believing probably Johnny more about all this, or like more on his side than on her side, because, you know, she's just coming off like it's just really polar opposite of how she was on the show. Like, it's just like,
and it's just like no compassion.
Yeah, all the credibility that like you've like gained during the show, like you just threw it all away.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's good or bad for her, because like, you know, Kardashians do this type of stuff all the time. She's like the Kardashian of this show. Like, people are just interested in Victoria Fuller for whatever reason. I mean, I know why I'm interested in her, but like, I don't know what everyone else sees in it. But yeah, it's just like unfortunate for her, because like, you know, there's rumors that she like is like a home wrecker. Like, she like takes people's husbands.
Those were rumors for like even not long after she was on Peter's season. There's like, you know, there's plenty of like bad things out there about
like her trashing that Airbnb, which apparently Greg was at, which is before all this stuff, which doesn't match with the timeline. Talking about all this timeline stuff and everything. You know, Nick Viall is going to have her on the podcast, I think today, the episode released or something like that.
It might release. I mean, by the time you guys are listening to this, it will have released for sure.
So we'll talk about that next week. But I don't know. I hate Nick talking about it. He's such a hypocrite.
Well, because he's pals with Victoria. So he's going to, you know, bring them on, let them. He's like try to be all like, you know, cheaters aren't good, but like, you know, people calling people the C word aren't good either, which I think, once again, that's completely removing the whole throwing the wine glass narrative thing in there. But because that's definitely the thing that he's gripping onto the most, is being all like, Johnny didn't deny this. Johnny didn't deny this. And I'm like, okay. But, you know, something that's part of it was Tyler tried to butt in. And I guess something that that might have been cut a little bit more was like actually what he was trying to say, that then she yelled at, like,
she's
Victoria
like, this is
yelled
none of your business, so butt out of it. I was like,
I know, like,
damn.
I guess he tried to bring up how she was in LA when her and Johnny were trying to work on things, and saying that she was single and like doing whatever and like all of that stuff. So that might add to it. And then I guess something like, you know, what Johnny brought up was how they were together while Gabby and Rachel's season was airing. So, you know, she's seeing Gabby and Johnny having this, you know, he made it all the way to the end practically. And so I guess that affected their relationship and whatever. But none of this really seems like an excuse to do things that maybe are very lacking, you know.
That's like interesting that they never really brought up that point, that even when they came on the beach, like they never really brought up the point that Victoria was concerned about the same stuff that Gabby was concerned about. They never like put those two and two together. So I can imagine.
Like, I put it together.
Yeah, we put it together, but they never like on the show like had Gabby talk to Victoria about that, or you know, mention it on the reunion, like, you know, because, you know, I would understand like if Victoria's watching this and she sees the Gabby episodes of her saying the same thing that she said she's going to say on the Bachelor in Paradise stuff. She's like, I said that about you, you know, you aren't ready to like settle down and all that stuff. And it becomes like a whole thing. But yeah, Tyler, this side of Tyler comes out where he is like, you know, going outside with Johnny after he steps off stage, and they let Johnny leave and Victoria stays there, and they go talking out back and stuff. And it's just like Greg just look like so stupid, man. Like, I hate that guy. I don't know.
Yeah,
I don't hate him, like, but it's just like
he looked dumb. He looked like a dumb puppy that was all like, and she like is like just so happy to have like her newest arm candy.
Yeah,
like,
I mean, he just looked like a villain. They both did. They came off like a villain couple.
Well, because like she like is like just such a the way that she bounces from like boyfriend to boyfriend, it just kind of, I'm like, none of this seems genuine, you know?
Yeah. I don't know. And they're just, I don't see what she sees in Greg. Like, what does he do? Like, you know, Like,
I don't know. Like, that was the joke.
Are they going to get married? Is that what's going to happen here? Because they're making it seem like he's ready to settle down and I want a family.
I know, that's all she says that she wanted, was she's ready to settle down and start a family and do all this shit. And I mean, and they've been hanging out and doing whatever still, but like, I'm like, really? Like,
no, we've been doing this so long that I know those guys are not going to make it. So I think Johnny will be all right. You know, he's still got time. You're going to find other people better than Victoria, Johnny. So, keep on keeping on. But how does this episode end? They
end it by showing us, you know, the main couple, the happiest couple from the beach, Serene and Brandon. And they come on, they say how they didn't get married on the beach because family means too much to them, which duh. But you know, they're like, don't worry, Jesse, you'll be invited. And they're just gushing. They're like truly the happiest couple. We love them for that. Good for them. They're all Gucci. And then they show us a preview of Zach's season where we see that whole bit with Tajwan and Victoria. And we're like, why the hell is she on this season too? Like, this bitch is getting her bag. That's for sure. But it just looks like, you know, Zach's season, I didn't see anything super attention grabbing. It looked pretty run of the mill stuff.
Yeah, I didn't get to see that part, but I don't know. I am looking forward to starting the rounds again until we aren't, you know, I don't know. We'll probably start watching and be like, this is lame. But
yeah, we get to wait until middle of January 23rd for that.
Yeah. So there you have it, folks. Bachelor in Paradise season 9 wrapped up. Hopefully we got to talk about it. You know, I'm sure more and more news will come out as, you know, weeks go on about the Victoria Fuller situation. People love to talk about it right now. It's just what it is. So I can understand why they're like the franchise is trying to keep her in the loop with all this stuff. The best they can. But we'll just have to see. Any other stuff coming out of Bachelor Nation?
Yes. So Kendall Long, known for, she had been on Ari's season. She had been on Bachelor in Paradise with Joe back several summers ago. And then she popped on just to kind of stir the pot a little bit last season. Her and her boyfriend, Mitchell Sage, who, you know, seemingly is a rando, are engaged. So good for them.
Good for them. Yeah, I mean, everyone's getting engaged. That's what's going down.
I mean, it's that time of year where a lot of engagements happen. I personally, if somebody ever proposed to me during, you know, Thanksgiving, Christmas, or my birthday, I would, or Valentine's Day, they don't know me.
They have like a 3-month window. Summertime.
Yeah, that I guess it's like a 4-month window, like November, December, January, February. Don't do it.
Yeah. Well, good for her. You know, what do you guys think? Do you think it's too quick for Kendall to get engaged after trying to stir up the pot with Joe? What do you think? Do you believe Johnny over Victoria or Victoria over Johnny? Do you think Greg came off looking all right on this? Would you get a tattoo just on your first date in Italy if it is their first date?
Yeah, first date.
Questions I need to know. What do you guys think in the comments below? Just let us know. You know, another Bachelor in Paradise season coming to a close. You know, I enjoyed it. It was a longer ride than we expected, but you know, it is what it is until next year. And like I said earlier, you know, definitely stick around on the show. We'll be talking about Bachelor Nation news on the off season and giving you all the good stuff. And as we ramp up to Bachelor, the new season, we'll probably talk about more of the girls, and I'm sure stuff will come out about them and more stuff with Zach and all that. So keep it locked right here with Future Bachelor. Yeah.
Future Bachelor Podcast.